by our beautiful Kumu Karen, and I get the honor to wear it. So welcome everybody. To all those, I'd like to extend a personal welcome to you for the first time here, and to all of you online that are here for the first time, and of course everybody, it's good to see you all again, yes, on this absolutely magnificent day. So today I'm going to just give us a little talk about the theme for the year is living out loud, and how that has become about, and how we live out loud. And of course, you know, I gotta begin with something lighthearted. We have to do that. So this is, because it's Sunday, you know, many of us get the Sunday Times or another version of the Sunday Times paper. And this is about Norman, who was completely irate because at around midday, he called the newspaper because he hadn't received his Sunday paper. So he called them and he demanded where his Sunday newspaper was. Norman replied, the news agent, "Today is Saturday. Your Sunday Times will be delivered tomorrow as usual." That probably wasn't said quite as nicely as I said it, but it was probably said with just a little bit more, So he said to him, your paper will be delivered as usual. There was quite a long pause on the other end of the phone, followed by the sound of the penny dropping in Norman's brain. At last he said, "Oh well, that explains why there was nobody at church service today." Oh yeah, we gotta laugh. It's Sunday. It's always Sunday. And so this year, we have been looking at living life out loud. That has been the global theme for the year. And in January, we began by reimagining our growth. We rooted ourselves, and then we booted ourselves, rebooted in a new manner. In February, we found out how to create a pearl from an aberration. And then as we moved through March, we were asked to create something authentic and vulnerable within our experience, and we were encouraged to dive deeper into the shadow and to expand our self-care. And in this month, we're being called to speak truth to circumstance. So what are we seeing in all of this? We're seeing a way to ask us to have a new experience. How can we have a new experience? What is it that we can do to create a shift in our lives, that we can create a completely new, realigned, something refreshing, invigorating, a new experience in our lives? This is what each one of the months has been bringing to us, so that we can ultimately move into this idea of living life out loud. So one of the things we have to do is we need to create within ourselves something different. And what we know about creating anything, especially, let's just look at this table over there, or the chairs. It doesn't come in pieces. When the thought or the idea of a chair comes, it comes complete. It's already there. Nobody starts building a chair and doesn't know it's going to have 4 legs, a back, and a side. It doesn't. It doesn't go, "Oh, well, I'm going to start with something here, and let me see if I can sit on it." No. 90% of the time when something is created, the form of what it's going to look like is present in its entirety before we begin. The picture is already there. The plan is already there. We don't start building, well, we shouldn't start building. I grew up in a home where somebody decided to build a house without having a plan, and it was interesting when we took it over and what we did with it. But yeah, we don't normally start building without a plan, an idea, a complete picture in our head from where we're going to begin. Do those things shift a little along the way, or do we finesse it at the end? Of course we do. But it's easy to do when it's a structural, heavy, an object. We have the picture, we create it. It's a little bit more difficult when we're trying to have a new experience. We have ideas around what it is we would like. We've spoken about what we desire. And yet so often I hear, but I'm saying my affirmations. I can't make it happen. It's not happening. And especially when it comes to health, relationships, finances. These are the things that we find trip us up all the time. We can't get that picture, that big picture solid in our brain so that we can create it. So many times we kind of go, well, let's just fake it till we make it. And that's a really good way to go. It's a good way to go, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not quite sure about this, but I'm just going to fake it when we go. I'm going to start moving forward and see what happens. And it can often work out really well. We're moving through the experience with an openness of let's just see where it goes. The other way we can speak to it is about let's put on the costume and we'll get into the role. Right? You've heard that. Well, it's, from my background of being in show business and being a dancer for all those years, I came across many, many, many times, always, every rehearsal. We'd go weeks into rehearsal, and then, of course, we always have a dress rehearsal before moving forward. Mostly it was to make sure that that big dress you're wearing was not going to trip up your fellow person. But at the same time, it was also able to throw you into the character so that you could embody that character even more. Well, I remember watching rehearsals of Swan Lake from when they started. And that was one of the shows, one of the ballets, where von Rothbart, the evil magician, wore his cloak from the very, very first day of rehearsal. Because that cloak enabled him to embody the character of what he was going to bring forward. Interesting that it was the evil. The good person didn't have to put anything on to know they were good. But that's just a little aside. But so here we see this idea that if you truly want to embody it and you want to put the costume on, you start with it right away. So as he moved through rehearsal, that cloak, that mantle that he put on, got deeper and deeper and deeper into his being, so that was the truth of who he was when he stepped out on stage. So we can put the costume on and grow into the role. And what it is we are doing in all of this is we are creating a mental equivalent. Has anybody ever heard that before? Yeah, we speak about that all the time. A mental equivalent, whether we're doing it in a static form or whether we're doing it in an emotional way for something, we are creating a mental equivalent of the experience we desire to have, a mental equivalent of who it is we want to show up at, what it is we want to create in our experience. Because we do understand that nothing is created without having at least an idea beforehand. It always begins with the idea. So if we create a mental equivalent, we create it first there. Then we can work with it in many different ways. So we start with all creation in what I call the see it way. The see it is, of course, I want a chair. I can see it in my brain. We're going to see it. And from Dr. Ernest Holmes, he says this. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching. The law of mental equivalence says that we can possess any object thing, provided we first have a subjective mental image of it, and provided that the subjective mental image is a real embodiment within our thought. So, one more time. We can possess any objective thing provided we first have a subjective mental idea. That's the plan. That's the picture in your mind before we go ahead and create anything. And it truly has to embody our thought. It can't just be, well, I can see a line and maybe I can sit on it. No, we're seeing a solid chair, 4 legs or a V, something that's going to stabilize. We've even seen chairs that they look suspended in air, but there's a solid image, a solid structure in there before we begin. So we begin with that. We create that first, because without that first image, nothing is going to come forward from it. Think about it a little bit. Has there been anything that you have created, even a watercolor, which we know is the most uncontrollable medium we can possibly have, but it still comes with an overall general idea of what it is you want to present? You will still begin with a mental equivalent. But now we take it deeper. And this is where things change for us. It's not good enough for us just to see it in our heads. Not for the things we want to hear. Not for the things that we want to create. Not to change a new experience in your life. You've heard many times me say that you come and you go, well, you know, I want a new car. Okay, so what is it that you want? Well, I want it to be yellow. I always use the yellow car. I want it to be yellow. I want it to be fast. I want it to be sassy. Actually, I'd like a yellow convertible Mustang. Brilliant. Well, that's an incredible mental image for you. Can you manifest that? Oh, absolutely. That's an easy one. Of course. Nobody believes me, right? Yes. It's the truth. You can manifest that yellow convertible Mustang when you get that really beautiful mental image in there. And then you get your yellow convertible Mustang. And you realize that gas is a fortune. You realize that you got to get into the garage every couple of months to get it tuned up, get it going. You realize that you get stopped a lot by the cops because you are driving your yellow convertible Mustang. Is this what you really desired? I don't think so. I do love the yellow convertible Mustang, by the way, and I think that maybe one day you're going to see me drive that. Either that or a truck. It'll be yellow, for sure. There'll be no doubt about it. But so then the question is asked of me, you know, why is it not coming? Why am I not getting it? I want it. I've got the mental equivalent. I'm making it happen. And I ask, how do you want to feel? Not what do you want. How do you want to feel when you are in this car? And you can use it with all of the others. You can use it with health. You can use it with prosperity. You can use it in relationships. As opposed to outlining that boyfriend or girlfriend that you desire with the specific of, you know, the checklist, the pros, the cons, the yes, the no's. No. How do I want to feel when I'm with this person? How do I want to feel when I can go and be liberal with my funds? How do I want to feel when I walk in perfect health? So we go to the feeling tone of what it is you desire. Now we're taking our mental equivalent to a different place. And Dr. Holmes says this: the law of mental equivalence means that there shall be within the body of our thinking not only an acceptance of the good we desire, but an inward experience of the meaning of that good, a real sense and a real feeling that we now possess it. Therefore, the mental embodiment of an idea or the true mental equivalent of something is not so much the word we speak. It is something we feel in the heart. So when you take this mental equivalent in your head and you bring it down, this is the longest journey in the world, by the way. Anybody gone? Anybody done this journey? From the head to the heart? Yeah, it can take forever. It can take days, months, years, decades, or it can be in that aha moment. And it goes plop. You're like, woo, that feels so good. But therein lies it. When we embody that desire we have, we can feel it. It's not just an idea. It becomes who you are. So can you see how this relates back to the cape? He became that cape. Yes, it wasn't nice, but he still became it. It's the same thing with us. When we go to the feeling tone, when we drop from the head into the heart and know how we truly feel. Because from that place of feeling, we can create, recreate, limitlessly. We don't ever have to think about it again because it is something we know and we can rest in. The feeling tone of the mental equivalent. That's where we want to be. So I think for those of you who are football fans, or any sport fan, or anybody that you know wins often, it's kind of interesting to notice that we will see football teams that have won the Super Bowl win them again. Baseball teams that have won win again. Is it because they have great players? You watch the players change. They get draft new ones every year. Some of them leave. What is it that can help them win again and again and again? They know what it feels like. It's not about knowing which passes to throw. It's not about knowing who should move around on the field and catch. Yeah, it's always great to have a little Brady or a little Joe Montana in there. It's always a good thing. You know, it can heighten the possibilities. But at the end of the day, they know what it feels like to win. They know what it feels like to be a winner. And that's where they recreate from the feeling tone, not from the brain, not from what should we do. How do we want to feel? And because they know that feeling, they can bring that feeling in so often. Because that's where they create from. It's down here. It's in the body. It's in their cells. So it's easy to do. And we can do that too. We embody this mental equivalent. We become it. We think about it. We talk about it. We meditate. We contemplate on this. We create this mental equivalent, and then we embody it. And then we get to reveal it. So we've seen it as an idea. We feel it as an embodiment. And from there, we get to reveal it and bring it out into the world. And I'll tell you why. But I'm going to let Dr. Ernest Holmes tell you first. And this is what he says. The law of mental equivalent means that everything that is consciously and subjectively embodied in our thinking tends to radiate an atmosphere, a vibration, a current of thought and inward acceptance which automatically attracts to itself that which is like itself. I'm going to read that one more time. The law of mental equivalence means that everything that is consciously and subjectively embodied in our thinking tends to radiate an atmosphere, a vibration, a current of thought, an inward acceptance which automatically attracts to itself that which is like itself. This is how we reveal the wonderment in our life, is by embodying it, because we will attract to us who we are. It's that simple. Exactly. It'll attract to us that who we are. So if our desire, whatever our desire is, we go through the process of seeing it, of course. We begin with the eyes. We allow it to sink to the heart, where it becomes manifest in our body as we embody it. And then guess what? Take a break. Relax. Kick back. It's a done deal. There's nothing more that you need to do, because who you are will attract to you that which you desire. Wow. Isn't that powerful? Doesn't that feel good? They take the heat off, because we're doers. We're always doing. We want to do this and do that. Somebody says to me, how can I get this done? I go, well, how do you want to feel about it when you're done? I don't know. I know I got to do it. When I get there, I'll know how it feels. No. Let's turn that around. Let's start how you want to feel. See the end. See the feeling tone. See, when relationships, I ask people, how do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? How do you want to feel when you spend the day with this person? How do you want to feel when you go to bed at night? You can do it with your job, you can do it with a relationship, you can do it with your health. How do you want to feel? For the universe, God, responds to as we believe, as we are. Our mental equivalent embodied becomes our belief, and it becomes who we are. And we are magnets for the good when that happens. It is absolutely brilliant. So, it's easy. It's totally easy. And why do we want to do this? Well, let's go back to look at the theme for the beginning of the year, the whole year. It's living life out loud. Living out loud. And how can we do that? Through all the months we've been offered all these ways of doing it. But it's not about just thinking about it and then going, oh, we're not sure. If we grab it and we embody the mental equivalent of how we want to feel in each one of those situations, do you think we're not living out loud? We are living out loud. Once we can be that wonderful magnet to attract to us all that we desire. It's easy. Yeah, no, not so much. But it is worth it. And it's worth it not just for you. It's worth it for how you show up in the world. For each one of us is that pebble in the lake. Each one of us is that butterfly wing. For as we are, we send this. We can't help but share our energy with those around us. Ooh, you can feel everything going on here, just going out. And it's not just through the AV, it's through who we are. As I said last week, the interconnectedness of all life. This is who we are. So let's take that mental equivalent. Let's move it just from this thought, this random thought and this random doing. Let's move it into the heart. Let's become who it is we desire to be. Let's be that magnet for what it is we truly want to see in this world. I think we can all do it. And so Dr. Holmes says, the law of mental equivalence should never be overlooked, for it is the law which decides how much of this infinite thing we are to experience. This would be true of any idea we wish to embody. We should think about it, feel it, and envision it, and try to think of the meaning of each word. Accepting it consciously, we should let it sink deeply into the unconscious until the subjectivity of our thoughts shall have accepted its meaning, and then we shall have arrived at the mental equivalent of the idea. So that is our work to do. Our work is to allow it to sink so deeply into us that that mental equivalent can be nothing else but who we are right here, right now, in all of our magnificence. And yes, you all are magnificent. So I have a little word from Reverend Jane Beach in closing around creation. Like a potter with her hands in clay, I grab hold of a dream and work with it. I skim off excess thoughts and beliefs, anything that needn't be included in the creation that's emerging. The process of bringing an idea into fruition is ongoing. I picture it, I feel it, and mold it with prayer and action. The journey is creative, and the result a work of heart. And so it is. Thank you. Let us take this to prayer. So we breathe in. We breathe into this absolute magnificence that is the divine. This wonderment that is all creation. That works in us, through us, and as us. In all that we do, think, say, feel, and experience. It is the instigator of ideas, the motivator of actions, and it is the fruition of all. So as we walk our path this week, we allow ourselves to lean in deeper into that which we'd like to see around us and through us and as us. Lean into the picture. Move into that feeling tone and feel how it would feel for it all to be done. How do I feel? And then know without any question of a doubt that it is already yours and revealing itself, for it can do nothing else but be that way, and we call it so. So I know for each of us here today that this is the truth of who we are. We are magnificent expressions of the divine, being able and willing to receive and use this power that is greater than we are, for all to create a life that is living out loud. And I call it so, and so it is. Thank you.